Merhabalar, ben Şükrü. P2P'nin bu bölümünde KG ile birlikte olacağız. KG, Güney Afrikalı bir Bitcoin'ci ve Machankura adında bir uygulama geliştirdi. Machankura ile birlikte interneti olmayan ya da tuşlu telefonları kullanarak Bitcoin gönderme ve alma işlemi yapabiliyorsunuz. KG bize Machankura'yı ve işte ürünün nasıl geliştiğini anlatacak. Umarım bu bölüm hoşunuza gidecektir. Yeah, hi Koktatsu.
Hola, hola, Stegmo.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm all good. Yourself?
Yes, I'm also good. Well, so yeah, I always used to call you KG because that was, or even when I was searching for you, I would always search for KG on Twitter and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so your name is Koktatsu, and is it like a South African name or is it like a nickname? What is it?
Yeah, it's a South African name. In Sepedi, it means comfort.
Yeah, I think that name really fits you. You are like a very chill and yeah
Thank you
person.
very
So,
much.
yeah. So, I today I want to talk to you about Machankura and you basically. What led you to develop Machankura, what or basically what you can do with Machankura,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, the history behind it. So, what is Machankura?
Cool. So, Machankura'yı is a service that allows people without internet connected devices to send and receive Bitcoin. The primary mechanism is a USSD interface that people could dial on pretty much any mobile phone with a cellular connection, especially feature phones like this one.
Mhm.
And yeah, so USSD is something that has been used across the African continent for many different applications. Most notable one being mobile money, which is another form of digital payments. And yeah, Machangura then takes all these different components of available in the Bitcoin space, like the Lightning address, Lightning invoices, and all of these different things, and makes them work on the USSD interface. The Lightning address works even better because, technically speaking, a person who's using, feature phone is not able to input a random string, right, of 60 characters or more as a Lightning invoice or a Bitcoin on-chain address. So a Lightning address is a human readable and human writable input, and yeah, we are using that to basically allow anyone to send and receive Bitcoin.
Yeah. So, for example, a Lightning address could be like Koktatsu at 8333.mobi.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, and that is actually my
Yeah.
Lightning address.
As long as you don't pick a Lightning address that's over 60 characters, you should be okay, I guess.
Exactly.
So this US SD stuff, the underground technology that you use on not smartphone, let's say, or you can also use it on a smartphone, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, is it like an international thing, or is it only applicable in some countries, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's a global standard, right? So any phone with a GSM connection has the ability to dial USSD codes. I think there's some codes you can dial even without a USSD connection just to check
Hmm.
some phone data. Let me
Like
see.
email
Yeah,
data, yeah,
yeah, well,
registration data, yeah.
yeah. I
I
think the other one is star hash 06 hash. Let me see 06 hash. Oh yeah, yeah. So that is the one hash 06 hash. So that gives me my serial number and other stuff which I won't show on
Of
screen right
course,
now. So
yeah.
yeah. So USSD is like a global standard. Every phone has this functionality. Every phone with a dialing pad has this functionality.
That's good. So, like, what made you like develop Machankura? Like, was it
Yeah.
like friends and family that didn't have access to internet, or
Well,
yeah, what was the driver?
Well, effectively, I would like to see more people using Bitcoin across the African continent. So I just had a desire to get rid of barriers of entry, right? And if you are in Africa or South Africa and you spend some time in the township and you try to introduce a person to an app, right? They either don't have data on their phone, or they don't have a smartphone, or they don't have a flagship smartphone, right? One of these three things. So if they don't have a smartphone, they would have a feature phone like this, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So you can't install an app on this, right? If they do have a smartphone, they don't have data, so you can hotspot them to, allow them to download. But if they don't have a flagship Android device or a smartphone, chances are when they do download your app, they will be presented with a message that says there's no more space to install this app, right? And they will have a selection to delete an app. And people usually do not delete the big apps to install a new app that they are hearing about for the first time from the dude, right? So, so the USSD service helps and solves this problem because it doesn't need to be installed. It's just you dial into it, right? That being said, it has a lot of technical capabilities, right? Because technically the users cannot self-custody, right? So this is effectively like a wallet of Satoshi service, but with a USSD interface.
So, question for you, like for example, how long does it take to set up a new account, a Machankura account? Like what
Uh,
steps do you have to go through?
Probably 20 seconds, right? Or 60 seconds, right? So you just dial the USSD code in your country, and then you register an account. And all you need to register an account is a 5-digit PIN. From that point, you have an account.
And then you set up your Lightning address, or
Yeah, you can then set up your Lightning address after that, right? In the settings and everything. But by default, your Lightning address will be your phone number at 833.mobi, right? And then
that's
once you set a username, you do get a Lightning address with a
that's
username.
pretty convenient as well. I think if you think of it, like let's say when I'm trying to teach someone about Lightning or Bitcoin in general, the
Mm-hmm.
quickest way is to get them to download a custodial app, and
Mm-hmm.
then they have to set up and all that stuff. I think that might even that probably takes more time
Mm-hmm.
to do that, even if you have a flagship phone, the best internet around. So do you
Yeah,
do
no.
you basically match the serial number of the phone,
I matched the phone number.
the phone number? Yeah.
Yeah, so that you could do SIM swaps and keep,
Hmm.
the same balance.
Yeah, that's good. And
Mm-hmm.
like, how many countries, yeah, is Machankura active at?
Yeah, so we're currently live in 6 countries, and these countries are Ghana, Kenya, Malawi, Namibia, Nigeria, South Africa, and Zambia. Right. So if a person goes to the website a333.mobi, they will be able to see a full list. Right? We used to have the USSD service in both Tanzania and Uganda, but we lost them to the service provider. Working to get them back, and yeah,
Yeah, this was
the
a
users.
while ago, right? The
Yeah.
Tanzania and Uganda. I
Mm-hmm.
remember, and it was like it was a sad day for me that the service provider could, yeah, stop
Yeah,
the
no, no.
USSD service. So, for example,
Yep.
if you wanted to, let's say, expand to Turkey,
Mm-hmm.
what steps would you have to go through? Do you have to deal with the service provider, or?
Telecoms and everything. Eh? So, technically, what I do is look at the demographics, right? So for me, let's look at a place like Turkey. I would look at the internet penetration for Turkey, right? And then if it's high, then maybe there would be something else to do rather than the USSD interface, right? I think companies like Facebook, in their global expansion, have a lot of playbooks as to what to do in specific countries and specific regions depending on demographics. One of their thing is making their service zero rated in the event where there's a country with high enough internet penetration. So let me check Turkey. So the internet penetration levels for Turkey seem to be at 81% from the World Bank data for 2021. And so, yeah, in this case, and then maybe let's look at users with a mobile cellular subscription per 100 people. In Turkey, there's 102 cellular subscriptions per 100 people. So everyone kind of, yeah, right. So yeah, for
I'll tell you a
me,
fun fact. Actually, I think last year Turkey, had like the most number of hours that a country spent on Instagram or something. So
yeah,
I'm pretty sure we have like good
exactly.
mobile penetration as well as service.
Right. So then, in a country like that, it would be a question of would you need to do to land in the hands of people's use who want to use a Bitcoin wallet, right? So maybe the internet is also cheap enough that you also don't need to zero rate it, right? Like, what is the occurrence of a person not having data on their phone, right? Do they have a space on their phone to install a new app, or are cheap Androids plentiful in the country? If that is the case, then maybe you can just do an progressive web app as a wallet, and then the people access it as a progressive web app if you know that they will always have data but may not have enough space to install a new app on their
Yeah,
device.
that would be a good solution if people are lacking the space. So,
Mm-hmm.
by the way, you mentioned one of the countries that has the Machankura services, Namibia. I
Mm-hmm.
remember one of a Twitter exchange between you and Okin from Namibia.
Yeah.
So basically, Okin was asking like, can someone do something so that people without internet or smartphones can use Bitcoin? And you said, give me 2 weeks.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Was the project in the work already, or was it the beginning of it?
Yeah, that was the beginning of it, effectively. Right? But at that point, I had just set up a Raspberry Pi,
Uh-huh.
and so it had already synced as well, right? And I was running a Lightning node on it, a core Lightning node on it. So then I was also asking myself, like, now that I have this, what am I gonna do, right? And
Yeah.
that seems to be one of the things that popped up, and I was like, okay, cool, let's explore these things, right? And I looked at all these different addressing formats. On chain addresses, Bolt 11, and then the Lightning address was just heaven sent. Shout out to Fiat Jaff and Andre.
Oh man, Fiat Jeff did basically a great job with both 11 address. I do Lightning addresses. Yeah.
Yebo.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That to hear that the project started after that tweet and that exchange over Twitter. Yeah.
And yeah,
So.
there's was actually a lot of people having that discussion around that time, right?
Mhm.
So um and I guess it became an issue of every time you talk to somebody and you want them to use Bitcoin,
Mhm.
they either don't have a smartphone or data. So it was a recurring problem for a lot of Bitcoiners in the country and on the
That was a
continent as well.
big bottleneck. Yeah, to
Mm-hmm.
get new people into the system. Yeah.
Yeah,
So by the way, I remember talking to you. Probably know him, Tokoloshe.
yeah,
Yeah,
Rick.
yeah. Like I was on his show before, and like we were talking about it, and actually I think South Africa has electricity issues as well.
Yeah, most definitely.
Like, is it still going on? Because this was like maybe a year ago that when we talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the grid had issues and.
It still had issues. It still has issues even to this day.
Mm-hmm. Like,
And yeah, so even me now, I'm running on some backup power,
yeah.
and everything is just you have to make plans to make sure things work.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
But it's not like the energy production. It's more like the distributing the electricity. I guess they call it the ESCOM or something. The grid line.
Yeah. But it's energy production related.
Yeah. Okay.
And the issue seems to be sabotage more
Oh,
than
really?
anything. Yeah.
What is the sabotage? Like, is it like they don't take care of the grids, and that's also a way of sabotaging it? Or
Yeah. And they would build a new power station, but then say things like the unit in the power station broke down for
hmm,
whatever reason they breaking down, right? Or coal is not getting delivered to some of the units, so they are not working. And power stations are made to be always on, so if
yes.
you cannot keep them always on, it takes you a certain amount of time to get them back up. And then other things as well. They say we are getting 7 hours or 8 hours of power outages per day, but on average you would get 12 hours, because also the infrastructure is not designed to be on and off, right?
Hmm.
So you have higher instances of cable theft as well.
Yeah.
And yes, in my personal opinion, the only people who can steal cables would need to have the equipment to work with those cables, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether that be the machines that raises them higher, so on and so forth. And the occurrences are so, what's the word? There's so many occurrences of the cable thieves, that it only makes sense that these people have a full-time job.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not just things. And yeah, they probably are working for the electricity companies that are
Yeah.
maintaining the infrastructure. So yeah, it's sabotage in multiple ways. Sabotage in also the sense that for years they knew that they had to build new infrastructure, but they didn't, right? And the ones that they did were already insufficient, and and by we I mean South Africa. South Africa has been the only African country with a nuclear power plant, and
Oh,
I don't
really?
think, yeah, in the only African country, right? And I don't think that power plant is being maintained well enough. Soon it will be shut down as well. And we could have easily built another one over the years, right? Yeah, so now there's a deal to source power from a nuclear power ship that's
Hmm.
gonna dock at one of the coasts in South Africa, right? So yeah, even that is getting delayed by some other manufacturers.
Actually, when you talked about the nuclear power ship, there's this company from Turkey that
Hmm.
does this business. It's not a nuclear power ship, but they have co-generators of LNG on the ship.
Yeah.
So they dock to the port, they get the
Hmm.
LNG, convert it to electricity on board, and sell it to the country. Like, I think in or in Ghana they are doing this. I know. I think they provide actually 20 something percent of the electricity in Ghana. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an
And,
interesting.
and I've And I think what we are trying to do is similar to that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Mhm.
like a quick solution, not like a long-term solution or like a cheap solution, but yeah, it helps a little.
Mhm.
So, uh, I wanted to ask you something about yourself. I know that you learned about Bitcoin from a professor of yours.
Mhm. Heard
And
about
last
Bitcoin
time,
for the first time from
yeah,
a lecture.
was it a electrical
A
engineer?
lecture. Oh
No,
no, no, computer security.
computer security. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
good. So right now, actually, there are some schools that are teaching, like Texas A&M has a professor there that teaches on Bitcoin and all that stuff. But when you learned, it really wasn't too many, yeah, lecturers talking about Bitcoin. So
Mm-hmm.
after years, have you contacted your, yeah, professor or lecturer, and yeah, is he
No, I
in
still
Bitcoin
haven't actually.
still? Huh?
I still haven't contacted him, but I'll probably make it a point to before this year ends to reach out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I think also if I was a lecturer of yours, for example, I would be super happy that, yeah, that I mentioned you Bitcoin and you are, yeah, doing something amazing so that it
Mm-hmm.
gets accessed by a lot of people. So
Yeah.
that would make my
So.
day. So make
Mm-hmm.
your, hopefully make your professor's day. And yeah, send him some sats over the phone or something. That would be really cool.
Most
Yeah.
definitely. Most
And
definitely.
also, have you visited the Surfer Kids, by the way?
Yeah, even multiple times.
Yeah, yeah. I really like that initiative as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
They
I
they, you what?
for this video, actually, I had a Bitcoin Ekasi T-shirt, and I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
wear it, but I couldn't find it. So yeah,
Yeah, next time, next time.
next time. Yeah, I really want. I have it in my mind to visit that place and, yeah, hang
Oh, you
out
should
with
definitely do.
Tondo and, yeah, the kids, and try to skate
Mm.
and hopefully don't break my ankles or anything. But
Mm. Yusuf.
yeah, I surf
Okay.
a little. I do windsurfing mainly because where I live, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we have a place that's popular for windsurfing, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I did. And yeah, last year I tried to wave surf a little, but like I spent maybe 2 days back to back, and a couple weeks later I spent another day. So I'm a novice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you surf?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't. Sadly, yeah,
Uh,
they've been trying to get me to surf every time I go down there, but every time I'm just too busy.
yeah,
So yeah, but what they're doing is definitely magnificent, right? And yeah, I highly recommend everyone to visit them at least once a year and check out what's happening in Mossel Bay. They have quite a lot of stores accepting Bitcoin, and yeah, if you could speak to the different stores as well, you may learn a lot of interesting stories from the
yeah.
people there.
One of the things that I remember seeing a while ago from your Twitter is like you're. I don't know if I'll say the exact words, but something around this. You're like,
Mhm.
uh, even Bitcoin can't really save Africa or something. And do you
Mm,
remember?
I was probably saying Africa's dead.
Yes, yes, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, technically, Africa in its current form, it's dead. It's probably a zombie continent. And everything that is happening in Africa isn't something you can say, oh, huh, and that is the future. And what I mean by that, and I'm going to separate African people from the African state, right?
Yes.
African leaders and so on and so forth, African laws.
Mhm.
And then you look at all of these things happen, and then you're like, nah, this cannot be sustainable, right? And even the problems we are struggling with, right, to truth be told, have already been solved years, decades, centuries ago. We just spend some time on the power issue, right?
Yeah.
And Yeah, like power generation has been solved a long time ago. How come South Africa is struggling to solve this problem? And then it also has other effects, like over the past few weeks, over the past 2 weeks, there's township or village that has had a cholera outbreak
Oh
due
God.
to the power outages, right? So yeah, around I think 20 people passed away as a result of that, right?
Maybe
So
the
huh?
water treatment didn't work, or
Yeah,
yeah,
obviously,
because of the
when the
power
electricity,
outage.
yeah, right. So yeah, that is effectively what I mean, right? And the things that should be working do not work as well. Just yesterday, taxi drivers, South Africa has public taxi system, but it's also private in the sense that it's not government mandated or anything like that. So you could join a taxi association, put a taxi on a route, and then
It's like a union, I guess, right?
yeah,
Something
kind of,
like
yeah, but they are very violent. Like historically,
that.
even taxi drivers are very violent. And just yesterday, last night, they attacked Uber drivers or Bolt drivers at one of
I'm laughing because we have the same in Turkey.
yeah, right,
Uber was
yeah,
kicked out from Turkey by the taxi drivers, and we used to
mhm,
call the taxi drivers the yellow fever because the
yeah.
taxis are yellow in Turkey and all that.
Yeah, right. So technically, everyone knows what should happen, right? Like there should be consequences for actions like that. Taxi drivers being violent against other people for whatever reasons. Maxi cab drivers doing the same thing, right? But part of the reason it happens is because they know they will not face any consequences, right?
Yes.
And yeah, so there is a huge void with regards to law enforcement, right? And I'm using law enforcement specifically and not using authority, right? So, yeah, everyone knows the laws, but the laws are not enforced on other people as much as they should. And then, everything spirals out of control. The crime goes up, so on and so forth. Infrastructure keeps getting worse and worse and worse, right? The
Yeah.
things that are possible, because I believe, honestly believe, that the amount of talent on the African continent is really immense, right?
Yes.
um if we were in the right state of mind, there's really more we can do and we should be doing, whether it be pop culture, whether it be sports, so on and so forth. A
Well,
lot of the time. Hmm.
I'll tell you something. Yeah, when talking to you, I kind of feel like South Africa, for example, the state of mind you have and the state of mind I have are somewhat similar. I mean,
Hmm.
okay, maybe Turkey is like maybe a tier higher in terms of infrastructure, electricity, and blah blah blah. But I have the
Hmm.
same, concerns. I'm
Yeah.
always thinking. I don't think Turkey is dead, but I think it's approaching to a rock bottom, and I'm hoping
Hmm.
that will bounce back because we have like a rather young population, and yeah, if we can get the wind behind us,
Yeah.
yeah, we can see good days ahead. So I remember when I read your tweet that Africa is dead, I didn't really think of it in a lot of detail, but it was like, oh no, I was really sad that you sounded like pessimistic there, but now I understand
Hmm.
what you mean by that.
Yeah, right. So yeah, that's effectively how I feel about it. And by the day, it's getting grimmer and grimmer and grimmer and grimmer. Right? All you have to do is keep track of all the laws that are being put in place, all the capital controls that are being put in place, because of dollar shortages or whatever else, right?
Same
And then
here.
yeah, right.
If I
And then
want to withdraw $6,000 from the bank right now,
mm-hmm,
or let's say I have a bank account that has Turkish lira, and I, let's say, exchange it today to dollars, and I wanted to withdraw it. No, They
Yeah.
won't do it. If I had
Exactly.
it maybe like 5 4 5 3 whatever years ago, already
Mm-hmm.
in dollar form or euro form or some whatever form, they'll try to pay me that because you know it's been there for a long time. But it's also getting harder to find dollars, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. So then the issue is that everything being done makes matters worse.
Hmm.
Right. So
It's like a
we
hunchback over another hunchback over another hunchback. So
right, yeah. So and all the other people, like all the talented people that could work towards solving the problem, um have aspirations to be a part of the system, have
mhm.
aspirations to be yet another clog in the system, right? And as a consequence, they all know that what they're doing is wrong, right? And you will hear them say, I'm just doing my job, right?
Yeah.
Even when they know that, this policy is causing more harm than good. Like, let's say, whatever capital controls, and you go to the
Yeah.
bank, you can't withdraw whatever. And the person working at the till says, "I'm just doing my job." Right? Fuck.
Mm.
Oh,
It's
can we swear on this job? Okay, can we swear on this show? Okay, I
yeah,
won't.
I got you. I know what
Mhm.
you want to say.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, ultimately, that then also accelerates the downward spiral, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, so at the end of the day, this is also how I feel. I do not owe Africa a single thing. I have no reason to be patriotic about being
Yes.
an African. Right? The world is my oyster, as people would say. There's way better countries to live in and build from rather than Africa. El Salvador being one, which is where we got to meet. Sorry, we didn't spend more time. Right?
Yeah. Are
Um,
you
and
considering a move there, for example, or
at this rate, I might do the move this year, right?
yeah?
So yeah, and ultimately, if things persist, the situation, once it gets worse and worse and worse, wouldn't have a reason to still be in Africa or South Africa. I'm still in South Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Pretoria, but if things persist, the decision will be made overnight.
Yeah.
My bags are already packed. Fun fact, right?
Yeah.
So the
Once
decision.
you
You what?
made your bags in your head, then it doesn't matter if you have
Mm-hmm.
a physical bag or whatever.
Yes, exactly, right. So yeah, then it then becomes a question of how does Africa, you know, s- um, get reborn. Right, it's already
Mm-hmm.
dead. It cannot stay alive or whatever. So that for me would be my focus.
Yeah.
The rebirth of Africa. What does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's few activities and few initiatives in that direction. And yeah, Bitcoin is a tool that could
Yes.
be used to accelerate that rebirth. And if you listen to things like what Magat Wade says,
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of the rules also make it harder to do business in Africa.
Yes.
And that is weird because most Africans are entrepreneurs, right?
Yes.
So if you make it harder for me to do business, you are killing the entrepreneur in me, right?
Correct.
Um, I shouldn't ask what form do I need to fill out. I should ask what else can I do to make my customer happy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
You should.
so
You'd
you what?
rather spend more time on growing your business
Mm-hmm.
than trying to deal with the bureaucracy and all that stuff. By the way,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
if your move to, for example, El Salvador would make Max Kaiser and Stacy happy,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it doesn't get to that. Hopefully
yes,
the rebirth happens sooner, right? Um, And yeah,
But we
I'll.
need to hit rock bottom first. Both Africa and Turkey, I feel that way too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Right. Oh yeah.
eventually it's fun because we have a good geography, young population, actually like a nice place to live. W-
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, once these problems become solvable. So,
Yeah. No, but I think the other interesting thing would be, what would you say, or are the reasons for Bitcoin not being widely used in Turkey?
oh, because we have a really bad money, people
Mm-hmm.
have, yeah, a high time preference. Like, for example, even let's say if I want to buy a car, you know, in some other places people would wait for the better time or this or that. In Turkey, if you have cash, you want to get rid of it and get something like a harder asset. And even
Mm-hmm.
a car is a really good asset.
Anything
I
is
don't
harder
know.
as it. Mm-hmm.
Yes, anything but money is a hard asset basically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so people really have high time preference and purchasing power isn't that much. So a lot of people, yeah, trade on non-Bitcoin stuff because it's kind of like gambling also for them.
Mm-hmm.
They're chasing the dopamine effect, I guess, and yeah. So. But
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you something. We had elections recently in Turkey, and since then it's becoming really way easier to orange pill people because
Mm-hmm.
capital controls may increase and this and that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
No, man, I hear you. Cool.
yeah.
So yeah, hopefully you guys also do something magnificent, and
Yes.
you release a playbook that could be used elsewhere, to accelerate Bitcoin adoption as well.
Yeah, I think there are interesting. Maybe you heard of Burak and his ARC project, for example. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, we have some people working, doing good stuff on Bitcoin, which makes me
Okay.
happy as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually sent a tweet, yeah, responding to the project, right?
Yeah.
Because the interesting thing is the name Ark, right? And well, his reasoning for the name is Noah's Ark as well, right? So
Mhm.
there is a flood coming, but the other interesting aspect of that was that even though Noah succeeded in building the ark, he only managed to convince his family
Yeah.
to get on, right? And of course, he was commanded to also put two pairs of animals,
Mhm.
male and female, on the ark, right? So how I feel about it is that it what needs to happen may not even be a technical challenge. Right?
Yeah.
The tech seems to be there for the people who would want to use it. Right? There's a rap song that says, with the chorus that says, "There is no inventive incentive. We just deliver now." Right? So the question is really, how would you get Bitcoin in the hands of as many people as possible, right? And Arc is obviously the best way to go about it because it can accommodate as many people as possible. But then let's not forget that a lot of people did not get on the Arc, right?
Yeah.
Only people in the builders family got on the ark, and then even the neighbors that could see that, oh, this ark is magnificent, is
Yeah.
big and all of that, they just went on their day. And yeah, even when the flood started, they went on
Yeah.
about their day.
No,
So yeah.
I had a similar like I idea about that I agree with you. I'm so
Mm-hmm,
sure that at some point, even if hyper Bitcoinization happens and the dollar hyperinflates or whatever, people
mm-hmm,
will still not believe in Bitcoin. So it's,
mm-hmm.
yeah, up to you, up to me to convince our friends and family. That's, yeah, and then maybe reach as many people as possible by explaining why Bitcoin matters. So yeah,
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
yeah. Well, thanks a lot for your time. I think was a really good chat.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll meet each other in somewhere, maybe on an arc somewhere. Who knows?
Probably only else I would do again. No?
Yeah, why not? Well, yeah, take good care. And
Thank you, man.
yeah, see you next time. KG ile olan bu bölümün sonuna geldik. KG bir sürü insanın kolaylıkla Bitcoin'e ulaşmasını sağlayan bir uygulama geliştirdi. Ve bu tekrardan hepimize Bitcoin'in aslında herkes için olduğunu gösteren bir uygulama bence. Umarım bu bölüm hoşunuza gitmiştir ve önümüzdeki bölümlerde tekrardan görüşürüz.